So this is it, map number 1 of a best of 3 TvT, and it's going to be between two damn good players. Sporting in the top right hand position of Outer Rim Stronghold, it is the blue Terran representing Alien Invasion, Strelok. And his opponent down to the lower left, the red Terran player representing Team Acer, MMA. TvT, of course, an amazing matchup. In cross spawns, there's a big map, there's lots of areas to go for. Drops into the natural bases, multiple pushes into the third, round to the side. Big map, lots of open spaces, drops up into the main base. Seriously, this is going to be an awesome game. I'm looking forward to it. Both players opening pretty similar. Gas fractionally earlier for Strelok here. Both opting to get Hellions out rather fast, I suspect. That's not a bad choice. Large map, Hellions very mobile, able to get scouting, map presence, etc. down super quick. Also can follow it up into Banshee, something that's quite popular in TvT, especially a Banshee into a Raven is super popular in terms of the current meta game of early openings from Terran players. Interestingly, neither player opting for a super early CC or anything like this. Strelok trying to work out whether MMA is in EU or Korea. Confirmed here, MMA is in EU currently. Gonna be good to see how these two go at each other and whether there's any divergence in strategy or what else is gonna be going on. Barracks now finishing up. Meanwhile, Strelok fractionally ahead in his factory timing. First Marine's going to be hitting the field as it goes in a moment. Otherwise, really, not too much else happening at this early stage. And TvT is like that. You'll see things slowly ramp up over time. Initially, nothing crazy likely to happen. So, Tech Lab coming down nice and fast here for Strelok. Meanwhile, over for MMA, he's actually queued up a second Marine, so this is the first variation in build that we've seen out of these two. Starport starting for Strelok, so he just wants to get that Banshee out as fast as possible. Meanwhile, obviously similar things coming down here, but the advantage for MMA is that he's going to squeeze out a couple of additional Marines. The advantage for Strelok is that he squeezes out a couple of Hellions faster. So swings and roundabouts, neither specifically better or worse, just different. Starport nearly finished. This also is another small delay. The fact that the starport is being built on the tech lab for Strelok is another minuscule advantage. And I'm really talking tiny gains here. But it's still differences, and it's still alterations in their build. Both players opting for Cloak, both players getting the Banshee down. Hellion for Strelok draws first blood, kills himself off a little scouting SCV. Denying information for MMA. MMA though, knows his opponent is most likely going to be in the cross spawn positions, having scouted the vertical. Can't guarantee he's knowing the bottom right. I don't think in this version it is only cross spawn or vertical spawn. Especially since Strelok checked cross. Hellion now coming out for MMA. The Hellion for Strelok comes straight up into the main, but gets taken out. Not before seeing that the starport is down in the tech labs there, so he knows that a Banshee's going to be on its way. Another difference in their builds. We're getting a Raven out from MMA, whereas a Viking from Strelok. Now, most players will go for the Raven. And this is the advantage that MMA gathers from getting down these Marines as opposed to the Hellions out first. Because with the Raven, he's got detection, negating any effectiveness of Cloak from Strelok's Banshee. And he's got the damage from the Marines in order to kill the Banshee itself. That's the big advantage. Whereas Strelok, he is going to have, obviously, the anti-air in the Viking. But what he lacks is any detection for the moment, forcing him to produce 2 missile turrets. That's not ideal. He's also got the Raven coming out too. but for now, not taking any catastrophic damage. The Marines for MMA trying to chase down this Banshee, get it to 32 HP, but a retreat is possible. Banshee's faster than Marines without stim. In comes MMA Banshee now, managing to take out an SCV constructing the natural base, and that's a good pick-off. Adds a small delay into the build of his opponent. Strelok continuing in to get Blue Flame down. Frantically trying to find this Banshee wherever it may be hiding. It has nowhere to escape now, so may as well just go pretty much all in, trying to rack up as many SCV kills as possible before its inevitable demise. That was actually a fair few. 7 workers killed by MMA. Only 2 killed by the Banshee of Strelok. Actually only 1 killed by Strelok's Banshee, because Strelok got the SCV kill up here at the start of the game. So MMA faring slightly better at the moment, losing a little less resources, but also up by a single worker, which is a fractional difference. But in a mirror matchup, fractional differences really can make game-changing differences later on. Blue Flame for Strelok is about 3/4 of the way through. 3/3 of course would be finished. I did fractions at school. But yeah, Strelok, Blue Flame, nearly done now, whereas MMA opting for the faster 3rd command center. That's actually a fairly big advantage now. By the time this one gets started up, it's roughly a just under a 50-second advantage. And also being built on the low ground makes it just over that in terms of income. Strelok looking to get some damage down, but MMA, he's got great vision with patrolling Hellions. He can see any avenue into his base, and this is a really neat little tactic. The only way something could get in is if it came all the way from out here through. But MMA knows most likely a medevac would come through this path through. So it has got great vision of all entrances into his base. Strelok about to get scouted. Hellion comes straight over. Knows that it's now coming. The medevac boosting in regardless. A Viking preparing to intercept though. Gets the first bit of damage down. 3 Vikings there. Should be able to take out the medevac. 3 Hellions still land. With Blue Flame will achieve some damage. The Marines all lined up. But good control out of MMA prevents many Marines going down. And that drop gets shut out very effectively and very quickly. Great work at the moment from MMA. Strelok though, he's up by 5 workers. He's been pumping out relentlessly on that SCV count. Doing a great job. And we need to see this keep going from Strelok if he's going to take this game, because MMA is such a strong player. Strelok has to do something very impressive if he wants to take a game off him, let alone the series. Blue Flame now kicking in for MMA. Meanwhile, Strelok adding in a bit more production with 2 additional factories. Worker count still 46 to 39. A big lead currently there for Strelok. And in income terms, that actually means that Strelok's faring okay. However, the 3rd bases are now both up, but the Orbiter Command for MMA is a tad ahead, which levels out the overall incomes to be a little bit closer. But pressure is now going to get applied by MMA. If he can get some good damage down, it could be devastating. A scan hits immediately, goes, okay, you got a tank there, good to know. Ready to spread his units. May go in from multiple positions, with only 1 tank there. It's not too scary, but the tank and the Thor may pose a bit too much of a threat, especially as Strelok about to have 2 additional tanks through. The SCV can't quite see. MMA just decides not to risk it and not to go too heavy too early. Strelok has discovered 1 Hellion, going to be able to take that out. MMA though, closing down, so 1 Hellion probably going to die in exchange for 2. Never a bad trade there. MMA adding in a 4th command center, also adding in his +1 vehicle weapons, but 1 mech weapons and armor is done for Strelok, so he's got a fairly substantial upgrade lead there with that +1 armor over his opponent. Not to mention the fact that he's still faring better in the SCV count. And while his 4th CC is a little later, having not yet started, at this moment in time in the game, Strelok is ahead economically and also ahead in upgrades, so his army is stronger. And with the army supplies very similar, and then both employing a mech style play, Strelok's on paper ahead. And that's a very interesting spot, and one that maybe not many players and many people watching would have expected. Oh no, we've got the chase of the barracks right now. They'll never catch each other. They don't even know of each other's existence for now, which is a bit of a shame. MMA just waiting patiently. Strelok coming over. Does scout it. They're aware that they both exist. Looking for a friend. They're just like, hey, I'm a scouting barracks. Scouting barracks look really sad as well. Look at them. They're just like, oh, my player didn't want me. Banshee for Strelok actually getting some great damage down here. 14, 15 kills on it. This dude is making some bank. In the main, there's blue flames. In the natural, there's blue flame Hellbats. Strelok getting an amazing amount of damage done here. Loses that Banshee, but he has picked off 39 SCVs this game. That's giving him a 20 worker lead now. He's pushing across the map. Strelok just did an amazing amount of damage to his opponent. MMA was not expecting that in the slightest. Strelok's up in army supply 2. That is where things get really interesting. He's got 2-2 upgrades coming through. They're going to be done before the +2 attack is done for MMA, enhancing that lead for Strelok momentarily. And this is going to be a big moment for Strelok. He can't easily push into that tank line. The scans coming down from both sides, but Strelok is in a mighty good position. Moving those Ravens forward, may go for the Seeker Missile, is going to go for the Seeker Missile. 2 of them down now. Both managing to connect. Neither tank dies, but it forces them to unsiege and move back a little. Strelok rallying more units across the map. MMA does now have his 4th in place, catching back up in that worker count. Resources lost, so them both insanely close. Only 49 resources lost difference between the 2 of them. MMA now preparing for a counterattack with these Hellions, looking for anywhere that he can go. Meanwhile, Strelok still just repositioning this army. Picking off a good number of these Hellions, they might get a kill or 2. Actually, not a single kill comes through there. Strelok up now by 40 army supply. That is a monumental lead for the Alien Invasion player, who is at 2-2 up against 2-0. +1 armor about to be done for MMA, but if Strelok goes now, he's got that big advantage. I think he can do it. Moving through, the tank's sieging up. MMA does have the better siege position. The Hellbat's trying to tank up some of this damage, but the front line of MMA's tanks do get taken down. Scans being used by both players at the moment. Overall, the resources lost there. Strelok losing fractionally more. MMA also losing stuff though. Still very, very close times. Hellbat drops getting ready to go through. MMA waiting with some more Hellions come across, but this is a very tense situation for both players currently. Strelok just moving back fractionally, doesn't want to get caught out of position. Patience definitely going to be key here. MMA doing some damage with Blue Flame Hellions in the main and the third, while Strelok goes for the Hellbat drop into the natural base, but MMA certainly coming out stronger here, dealing some great damage. Now 32 workers killed by the Acer player. 46 killed by Strelok, and he's still going. Got this one Hellbat down here, and there's a lot of SCVs all hugged up together. This Hellbat is dealing some seriously good damage, and that's because Strelok's pushing in towards the third. His army supply is still up just shy of 30, and he's doing some great damage. Both sides taking significant losses. Strelok slowly closing down this siege line, now well within range of the third. Needs to get a scan down because MMA's tanks is slowly pushing stuff down as the vision for Strelok not there. The Orbital Command is taking damage. Strelok at 49 SCVs, MMA at 57. Just gone the 20-minute mark of this game, and still things looking very tense. Scans coming down everywhere. Both players need to see this, but MMA has no choice but to lift that Orbital Command, denying him some income. But he's got his 4th. Strelok has got his 4th in position, but is not mining from it. And as a result, their incomes actually favour MMA. It's pretty level, but MMA's got slightly more and has done prior to this. But Strelok is now at the 3-3 upgrades compared to 3-1 of MMA. He's got a 2 armor upgrade advantage over his opponent, and that's nothing to shy away from. Very substantial increase, and really MMA has to continue on with this harassment, where he's done fairly well to make this worthwhile, but Strelok is the one who's really been slaughtering the SCVs. 62 worker kills compared to 34. But this 4th base for Strelok could make or break his game for him. Forward come these tanks now. Gonna siege up. Gonna try and get the damage down. Quick little pickup of those Hellbats. Are there enough tanks here for Strelok? Gets some nice damage through. MMA bringing forward a lone Hellbat. Sacrifice to allow these tanks to get taken out quicker. But a reposition now from Strelok's tanks blocks out this 3rd base for MMA. The 4th for Strelok, unable to mine. Being sieged by Hellbats at the moment, but a quick drop down from MMA's tanks. Nice drop play. Clears out this force. Precisely what he needed to do. But Strelok, he's dropping into the natural again. Getting more SCV kills with these Hellions. However, the 4th of Strelok is getting dangerously low. If it gets taken out, which it will, that is a huge loss. Because MMA, while he's lost a couple of workers, has relanded his 3rd, and throughout all of this engagement period has had his 4th base up. Strelok, where he was in a solid position, is starting to look like he's struggling to close out the game when he had the advantage. And MMA, just through good control and keeping the basics perfect, is managing to get back into this game. His work count now up on his opponent, a base up on his opponent, and that are all very big advantages. Nice little delay being ensued by the barracks blocking the landing of the 4th CC. But again, we see Strelok come in for the drop play. He's killed 80 SCVs this game. That is so many. Everything going through here is so incredibly close. Barrack goes down, Strelok can land his 4th finally, but he's taking damage in the natural base as MMA continues on with some more harassment. Strelok down to just 46 SCVs compared to the 62 SCVs that MMA currently has. Strelok's army supply is still up though, and he does still have those 2 additional armor upgrades for his mech units compared to MMA. Strelok's army supply is also a bit higher. But if we take a look at the incomes, MMA is now astoundingly ahead in both gas and minerals per minute. And that means the longer this game goes on, the better it gets for the Acer player. Tense movements from both sides, positioning key in TvT. Whoever gets that better siege up position will likely win the engagement. MMA moving in, trying to bait the siege out there, doesn't manage to do so. Pulls back. Quick siege though, and Strelok walking straight into it. The scans are there. First volleys come through for MMA, getting a lot of damage down, coming in with the flank too. So many siege tanks died. The Thors getting taken out efficiently. MMA annihilating this push from his opponent. Loses a lot himself though, and is getting dropped yet again in the natural base. MMA's tanks trying to duke it out, but Strelok's reinforcements enough to stop a lot of this now. But MMA going for the Raven harassment, auto turrets, shredding SCVs. MMA with a good upgrade lead. Sorry, MMA with a good SCV lead at the moment, 59 to 41. He's also lost his 4th. When did that? I didn't actually see that go down. That was a massive error on my part, but important to note that MMA has been able to deny that 4th base and actually kill it, which means that economically, Strelok really is in a bad position at the moment. He has to somehow get his economy going because he cannot last probably even one more trade against MMA when MMA is mining so much more than him. A hideous amount more. And that's about 4 times more minerals and about 3 times more gas per minute. And still, this Raven is harassing. Strelok needs to look for a good opportunity. That +1 armor upgrade lead that he's got on his mech isn't that sizable anymore. especially when MMA does have the greater army supply. 4th base being guarded by MMA and just a few Hellbats in case there were any drops there. But in now comes Strelok. He goes for the drop of the Hellbat into the tank line. Meanwhile, a nice siege up position from Strelok, but he just doesn't have enough stuff there as of yet. Unfortunately, this tank line does actually zone out a lot of MMA's army from coming over to the 4th in order to defend them. This allowing some decent damage to be done. MMA pushing straight through, wants to take out these Vikings, preventing further SCV losses, while continuing on with additional harassment of Strelok. 95 workers killed by Strelok, 55 killed by MMA. Regardless though, MMA still up 62 SCVs to 37. Nice siege position here for MMA, good spread, catches Strelok unsieged. While the Vikings do land, the tanks get taken out, GG is called, and MMA, nearly 30 minutes through the game, takes map number 1 of this best of 3.